News for Buddhist folks, good news for Buddhists. The Buddha's own Kinwa Tilha Gulelwa mountain has been found, folks. The Buddha's own Kinwa Tilha Gulelwa mountain has been found, where he stayed in a cave. That cave has been found, folks, and where Sakra, king of Devas, asked him 42 questions. So, folks, to view this mountain and how I came to find it, stay tuned till the end of this video. Okay, now folks, now that I have shown you what you call it, Bajna Par, which is Sariputra's favorite disciples relic stupa, and I have shown you what you call it, Sariputra's home, Sariputra's relic stupas, and the place where they, what you call it, cremated Sariputra, and I showed you where Sanjaya, Sariputra's teacher, lived. Now, what do you call it, Huen Tsang, let's carry on with Huen Tsang's journey. From Bajna Par, Huen Tsang goes 30 li east. 30 li east, to which he calls In-to-lo-shi-lo-kia-ho-shan, something like that, which the British translator translates as Indrasaila Guha. Indrasaila Guha, folks. It is actually exactly now 30 lees will be around 8 kilometers. 30 lees will be around a little bit more than 8 Indian kilometers. So, what do you call it, from Bajna Par, exactly 8 kilometers east is Kendwa Tilha, and on top of it is Gulelwa. Kendwa Tilha, the hillock's name is Kendwa Tilha, and on top of it there is a stupa called Gulelwa, which the Huen Tsang writes something, and the British translator translates it as Kengsha. It's not Kengsha, it's Gulelwa. And folks, now this is the story. See, this this is a rocky hillock with two peaks. It is a rocky hillock with two peaks, and one is higher than the other. The eastern peak has got a cave in it, and within that cave, according to Huen Tsang, within that cave, what do you call it, the cave is not much in height. What do you call it, Sakra, king of Devas, placed 42 questions for the Buddha. Sakra, king of Devas, placed 42 questions for the Buddha, and what do you call it, those 42 questions are engraved in the wall, and when Huen Tsang went there, they were sort of engraved. I mean, you could just make out the writings on the cave wall. So that is your Kendwa Tilha, and on the eastern peak there is a stupa which Huen Tsang calls Kengsha, but on the ground it's Gulelwa. Gulelwa has been mispronounced as Kengsha. Now, what happens is, why is this stupa on top of this hill? Why is this stupa on top of this hill? We see in the ancient times, a group of bhikshus were staying there, and they were following the Buddhist little vehicle, and Basically, I haven't gone into all this little vehicle and all. They sort of one day the bhikshus didn't have food to eat. The bhikshus didn't have food to eat. So what happens is a swarm of birds are flying past. A swarm of birds are flying past, and the one bhikshu thinks ki today there is very little food. It's a very good time if one of these birds die, so we can eat. What happens as soon as he thinks in such a manner, one of the swans, it's a what do you call it, swarm of swans flying past. So as soon as the bhikshu thinks like that, evil thing, that one of the birds should die and fall down, one bird dies and falls down. And the other bhikshus, they see this and they complain. And they complain and they go running. They go running and what do you call it? They complain to the other bhikshus, the elder bhikshus. So what happens is everyone feels pity for the goose. Everyone feels pity for the bird. So they bury it over there and make a stupa on it, as you know, a reminder that no one should kill anything. Now basically Huen Tsang doesn't mention any catapult, any shooting down of the bird with a catapult. But the fact that the stupa's name is Gulelwa, Gulelwa means catapult. Gulelwa means catapult. So the fact that the stupa is called Gulelwa means what do you call it, in respect to Buddhism and in respect to the Buddhists. Huen Tsang omitted this part of the story, that someone shot it down with a catapult. So basically they made this stupa on the bones of the swan and called it Gulelwa, which Samuel Beal mistranslates as King Shah. Anyway, what do you call it? In the nights, in the middle of the night, when you look from the eastern hill, western hill to the eastern hill, within a crag, there is a cave. In that cave, during the nights, in the middle of the night, bright light would shine. Bright light would shine in front of the Buddha's statue. Folks, check out what Huen Tsang has to say about Kendwa Tilha Pahad, Kendwa Tilha hillock, and Gulelwa stupa, the stupa, the swan stupa. And what do you call it? Check out the pictures, photos of this hillock. It's unique. It's just a bunch of boulders piled up, one on top of the other, and huge boulders also. And there is one hill next to it, which is Swarn Hill, the golden hill. So folks, check out pictures of this Kendwa Tilha hillock. Thank you. So this is now this I'm giving this information to Buddhists. The Archaeological Survey of India identified another hill. It's a white hill near, what do you call it, Sekpura. It's a white hill, and what do you call it, they have identified it wrongly, and neither have they found the stupa on that hill. On that hill. So folks, let's see what Huen Tsang has to say, Zhang has to say. After that, you can check out the photographs of Kendwa Tilla Pahad. Thank you. Now see, when Kashyap Buddha was in the world, then 3 kotis of great arhats entered the condition of complete nirvana in this place. And now I showed you this place. It is Bajnapar, where 3 kotis of arhats entered nirvana, and where Sariputra's favorite disciple also entered nirvana. So now that is Bajnapar. Now let's see where Huen Tsang takes us after Bajnapar. Going 30 li or so to the east of this last named stupa, we come to Indrasaila Guha mountain. Now he comes to a mountain 30 li east of this stupa. That means around 8 kilometers east of this stupa, we come to Indrasaila Guha mountain. Now this is, wrong translation of Huen Tsang's voweled word. In-to-lo-shi-lo-kia-ho-shan. See, Huen Tsang says In-to-lo-shi-lo-kia-ho-shan. So that is, they have translated it as Indrasaila Guha mountain. No, In-to-lo-shi-lo-kia-ho-shan is Kendwa Tilha Gulelwa, and Swarn. Kendwa Tilha Gulelwa Swarn mountain. So I will show you where it is in satellite picture. See, here is Bajnapar, the 3 stupas, 1, 2, 3 stupas, where 3 kotis of arhats entered parinirvana, and 8 kilometers east is Kendwa Tilha Gulelwa Swarn mountain. Kendwa Tilha In-to-lo. In-to, dwa is to, and la is lo, and Gulelwa is shi-kia. Gulelwa shi-kia, and Ho-shan is Swarn mountain. So this is Kendwa Tilha Gulelwa Swarn mountain, folks. I will show you the word difference. See here, I have written it down. Kendwa Tilha Gulelwa Swarn mountain. Kendwa In-to Tilha lo Gulelwa shi-lo-kia, loa-kia, lo le Gulelwa shi-lo-kia, and Swarn is shan. So Huen Tsang's vowel In-to-lo-shi-lo-kia-ho-shan is Kendwa Tilha Gulelwa Swarn mountain, folks. Let's see what Huen Tsang further has to say about this mountain. Here we go. Now this is your Kendwa Tilha Gulelwa mountain, which Huen Tsang says is 8 kilometers east of Bajnapar, where there are the 3 stupas. So folks, so this is your Kendwa Tilha Gulelwa Swarn mountain, mispronounced as Indrasaila Guha mountain, folks. Now let's see what he has to write about this. The precipices and valleys of this mountain are dark and gloomy. The precipices and valleys of this mountain are dark and gloomy. Flowering trees grow thickly together like forests. The summit has two peaks. The summit has two peaks which rise up sharply and by themselves. On the south side of the western peak, between the crags, is a great stone house, wide but not high. Here Tathagat in old time was stopping when Sakra, king of Devas, wrote on the stone matters relating to 42 doubts which he had and asked Buddha respecting them. Then Buddha explained the matters. The traces of these figures still exist. Persons now try to imitate by comparison these ancient holy figures. See, this cave is covered with a rock just now. This cave is covered with a rock, and the archaeological department has identified a different hill as the Indrasaila Guha, and they have named it the Indrasaila Guha mountain. Those who enter the cave to worship are seized with a sort of religious trepidation. On top of the mountain ridge are traces where the four former Buddhas sat and walked. Still remaining on the top of the eastern peak is a Sangrama. The common account is this: when the priests who dwell here look across in the middle of the night at the western peak where the stone chamber is, they see before the image of Buddha lamps and torches constantly burning. Before the Sangrama on the eastern peak of the Indrasaila Guha mountain is a stupa which is called Hansha Kengsha. Actually, that is Gulelua. Formerly, the priests of this Sangrama studied the doctrine of the little vehicle. That is the little vehicle of the gradual doctrine. They allowed therefore the use of the three pure articles of food, and they followed this rule without fail. Now, afterwards, when it was not time to seek for the three pure articles of food, there was a bhikshu who was walking up and down. Suddenly he saw a flock of wild geese flying over him in the air. Then he said in a jocose way, "Today the congregation of priests has not food sufficient. Mahasattvas, now is your opportunity." No sooner had he finished than a goose, stopping its flight, fell down before the priest and died, folks. So the bhikshu, having seen this, told it to the priests, who, hearing it, were affected with pity and said one to other, Tathagat framed the law as a guide and entered encouragement suitable to the powers of each. Now we, following the gradual doctrine, are using a foolish guide. The great vehicle is the true doctrine. We ought to change our former practice and follow more closely the sacred directions. This goose falling down is in truth a true lesson for us, and we ought to make known its virtue by handing down the story to other ages the most distant. On this they built a stupa to hand down to future ages the action they had witnessed, and they buried the dead goose beneath it. See, now it's very interesting. See, it was a goose who died, and look, the mountain's name is Gulelwa. Gulelwa means catapult. The mountain's name up here is Gulelwa, and Gulelwa means catapult. So that means someone shot that goose down with a catapult. So the stupa, which is made on the, what do you call it, on the dead goose, is called catapult, folks. So basically, now let's see what Huen Tsang has to further say. The great vehicle, going 150 li or 160 li to the northeast of the Indrasaila Guha mountain, we come to the Kapotika or pigeon convent. I will show that to you later. Now, first I would like to show you, see, this is your Gulelwa mountain. Kendwa Tilha is the Sangrama. Kendwa Tilha is the Sangrama, and Gulelwa is the goose stupa, and your Shan is Swar.
Okay, now folks, now that I have shown you Huen Tsangs written from his book, and I have shown you the satellite pictures of where this Kendwa Tilha Gulelwa Swarn Pahar is. See, this is a photo of Kendwa Tilha Swarn Pahar. You see both the hills Huen Tsang mentions, and on the eastern hill, what do you call it? There is a cave. There is a cave, and what do you call it? The Buddha used to once reside in that cave, and over there, Sakra, king of Devas, he, what do you call it, asked 42 questions, and those 42 questions are supposed to be written on the wall of the cave. The cave mouth has been blocked by a huge stone, folks. The cave mouth has been blocked by a huge stone, so that stone will have to be removed, and the cave, what do you call it, shown to the world. So, and archaeologists, I mean ASI of India, they have chosen this hill in Afsar as the Indrasaila Guha mountain. Now they took the ASI has taken Huen Tsang's mispronounced In-to-lo-shi-kia-ho-shan, what do you call it, as Indrasaila Guha mountain. Folks, it's not Indrasaila Guha mountain, it is Kendwa Tilha Gulelwa Swarn mountain. So this is your Kendwa Tilha Gulelwa Swarn mountain, and see, it is just a pile of rocks on top of each other, and it was here that Sakra, king of Devas, now translate Sakra, king of Devas into Hindi. King of Devas will become Devo Ka Dev Mahadev, and Sakra is a mispronunciation of Shankar. So Sakra, king of Devas, becomes Devo Shankar, Devo Ka Dev Mahadev. So Shankar, it seems, asked 42 questions, and what do you call it? They are inscribed in the wall. Now look at both the peaks. The right peak on this hill is the what do you call it? Gulelwa. This stupa. Huen Tsang writes about where the bhikshus, they buried the dead goose which suddenly died and fell down. They buried the dead goose and they made a stupa on top. That is your Gulelwa. It seems someone shot it down with a catapult. Gulel means a catapult. So that is the Gulelwa stupa. That is the higher, the second peak, what do you call it, higher peak. And folks, this is your Gulelwa Pahar, and next to it is the Swarn Pahar. So folks, this is mispronounced by the ASI as Indrasaila Guha mountain. Actually, this is Samuel Beal who translated Huen Tsang, and they have identified the mountain in Afsar. Well, the Afsar mountain doesn't have, it has a cave, and they have installed a Buddha statue in it. but it doesn't have two peaks. It doesn't have two peaks. This Buddha and Swern mountain, they are two mountains, so they are two peaks. And folks, this is your Indrasaila Guha mountain. I found it, folks. I found it for you all. It should be opened up to the to religious tourism for Buddhists. Thank you.